Everybody remembers Danny Ainge's tweet, right? Man, Austin definitely better than some of these NBA execs. Shit lightweight hilarious.
Why is it that Bronny James is the poster child for nepotism, while Austin Ainge seems to fly under the radar?
Most of the time, Rob Parker is an angry old man like I am, but he missed the most obvious response to this. His response was pretty good, but he missed the most obvious response to this if you focus on the question, how is it that this went under the radar? Maybe because Austin Ainge's dad wasn't shooting off his mouth and looking for attention. How many people remember the video I made asking Chris Broussard to let us know when teams start drafting coaches or office personnel? And I tell you what, if nothing else, the LeBron James drama keeps people talking because this is essentially a year old. Because that video in which I ripped on Broussard is a year old. And once again, we were talking about nepotism. It was introducing the nepotism of LeBron James and us questioning who really is running the Lakers organization. Okay, let's be honest. We've been wondering who's running the Lakers organization for quite some time. But since that time, Broussard was replaced by a younger version of Broussard.
But the idea that LeBron James, what he's meant to the league, what he means currently even to the league, would not help his son get drafted, to me was crazy.
Kelvin Washington kind of plays the same role. He's still the LeBron apologist. And I got to tell you, it was sad seeing Broussard play the LeBron apologist. But if you're going to be opposite Rob Parker, one of the two has to play that role. Or I guess that's the engaging script to get people to watch, is that you got to have the opposing views. Who knows what Broussard truly thinks? But Kelvin Washington being younger, I'm sorry, young people. This is the old head in me saying, so many of you have been influenced by a corrupt era of the media. Not that it hasn't always been corrupt, but things are just crazy now. Anyway, let's get to the nepotism part 2. They actually had to go through a fair amount of effort to dig this story up and get people to start talking about it. Why was this under the radar? Was it because they were trying to protect the white Ainges? Or maybe no one gives a shit what's happening at office positions of the Utah Jazz. People barely give a shit about the players on the Utah Jazz at this point. 99.9% of basketball fans can't tell you the names of executives at franchises, and rightfully so. The only reason we know about Rob Pelinka is because of the Los Angeles Laker drama show. We didn't know the names of agents until LeBron James and Rich Paul, and maybe you're going to mention David Falk. Well, sorry, you did not know who David Falk was back when Michael Jordan was playing. You know about him now thanks to documentaries and because he's finally firing back at La Media. I don't give a fuck about Danny Ainge or his son. The bottom line here is that we're talking about a staff position, not someone recruited for their physical prowess. I don't even know how this conversation needs to go further than that. One person needs to perform physically in order to get the job done, and does it on a court for everyone to watch. And we can all see the results. It's simple enough. Like if you're a coach, or let's say it's the front office or whatever. I mean, when I did the video on this last year, I found out that there were so many positions inside of a professional sports organization. So the opportunity for nepotism, and nepotism for somewhat meaningless roles, is huge. And again, who am I to call any role meaningless? Because I don't know. And neither do you, which is my point. These are things going on behind the scenes. You can't, on a nightly basis, look at the performance of these staff members. Similarly, it's hard to tell exactly whether or not someone is a good coach, or at least compared to whether or not you can tell if someone is a good basketball player. Because coaches have different coaching styles. Just because a coach behaves in a certain way and another coach behaves in a different way on the sidelines doesn't mean that you can determine that coach's ability based on that. And after that, it gets more abstract. There was nothing abstract about watching Bronny James not be able to make a shot. You don't have to read very far into that to understand that this is someone being given a spot on an NBA roster who is having trouble being a professional basketball player. After that come all of the excuses, though, which attempt to make something that isn't abstract. Oh, well, it's good considering that he had that heart condition and came back from it. Oh, it's better than it was at this point, and it's better than blah, 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 or it doesn't matter because he was the 55th pick. Oh, who cares about a second round pick? All of those things are excuses to justify something that should not have happened. Let me cover the bases and go back to the Ainge thing and any other staff position, whether it's an upper staff position or a low staff position. I also don't think that that is correct. I don't think nepotism should be abused in that way, if for no other reason because of the opportunity that you're taking from someone who is more deserving. And if that person doesn't deserve that position, you're probably hurting whatever organization the nepotism is taking place inside of. But again, those are things that are hard for us to see. How someone performs on the basketball court is not hard to see, unless you're a LeBron fan. Somehow they really don't see things. Having said all of that, there's actually the possibility that Danny Ainge's son is qualified. I don't know. I don't want to spend time getting into that. It's not as much about Ainge specifically, but just in general, it's possible that some of these people filling these staff positions are qualified for them. And if you have a staff position open and one of the people who could fill that position is qualified for that position and is also associated somehow, let's say it's a family member or alumni, etc. Okay, you know what? That makes sense. That's not so terrible. It's when someone does not deserve a position, and then you claim that someone deserves the position because of someone that they know, that things get ugly. But again, what do we know about things taking place in the offices compared to what we know is taking place on the basketball court? Now, what's another massive difference between comparing an athlete's position to an office position? How about the roster spots, the limited positions available? And how many times this year did we hear that the Lakers had no depth and no size? Well, not only does Bronny James not provide size, in fact, he reduced their size overall because he's so small, but he also used up a roster spot. Everyone who says that it doesn't matter about the second round pick, no one cares about the second round pick, is lying to themselves. And I already did a detailed video about how essentially Thomas Bryant, who is playing for the Indiana Pacers, who are now on their way to the NBA Finals, equated to the second round spot. I'm not going to waste time convincing people that Thomas Bryant is or isn't good. The bottom line is that he's getting minutes on a team going to the finals. Bronny James didn't get a single second except for in blowouts, which means you're putting him in there just to say that he was on the floor. He had nothing to do with actually helping the team, which was the case for every time Bronny was in this season. That is an absolute waste of a roster spot. Again, you don't get to say, oh, it doesn't matter, when that same team complains about not having depth on their roster. Put someone big in the spot that Bronny James is using up if you're going to complain about a lack of size and depth. Now, just for fun, let's all pretend that we agree with each other on something. Let's just say that we're all on the same page that we don't like nepotism, and no matter who it is or what the position is, that it shouldn't happen. Again, don't lose sight of the point I'm about to make. We're just pretending in this scenario that we all agree, hey, if it's not right for him, it's not right for him or her or whatever. God forbid I offend somebody. If you're going to engage in something that is questionable, maybe don't run your mouth. If you're going to engage in nepotism, and some people think that nepotism is wrong, maybe have the decency to do it quietly. I'm pretty sure Danny Ainge didn't tweet watching these basketball operations execs, and it's lightweight hilarious. My son is better than half these cats right now. It's amazing how many times LeBron James ran his mouth about his son, and he and his fan base turn around and be like, how dare you? How dare you call him out? Is Austin Ainge going to be good at his job? Here's a better question. Do you actually care? How many people knew this was happening until LeBron's camp or whoever wants to help continue justifying what LeBron did made sure that you knew about it? And that doesn't mean that hiding something that shouldn't happen is necessarily good, but you also don't run your fucking mouth. Be wrong about what you said and still get mad when criticism comes. Do you realize with Bronny James's $8 million contract that what he is guaranteed to make per year as the contract goes on, per year, is more than Thomas Bryant is making right now as an actual contributor to an NBA Finals team? Stop telling me the second round doesn't matter. Again, the Lakers gave up Thomas Bryant for second round picks. Why would you give someone up for picks if picks aren't valuable? Clearly picks are valuable if you are trading away players for those picks. And what did the Lakers do with their second round pick? Fucked themselves. Then somehow found a way to complain about how fucked they were. I can't wait to hear Danny Ainge complain about not having a good president of basketball operations. And if this were the equivalent of the LeBron world, having the minions say, yeah, man, that sucks. Let's go back to the scenario in which we all pretend to agree that doing the wrong thing is wrong, no matter who you are or what the position is. Does it seem any more acceptable for a chief executive officer to make a position decision than having a player make a decision? A player, a player. LeBron James, at least he is the chief executioner of the Lakers' hopes, dreams, future, and respectability. Again, he is a player, not an owner, not a CEO. In fact, he is an overpaid dinosaur player who manipulated the staff of the Lakers' upper management to get his way. And then the Lakers minions, or at least the LeBron Lakers minions, turned around and complained about the situation that they're in while justifying what LeBron did. Let's continue with the justification part of it. How many people have heard that what was done with Bronny James is acceptable because it's a development thing? You know, we're going to develop him. He's going to be helpful. It's going to be okay because he shows potential. Imagine using that excuse with the president of basketball operations. It doesn't matter if he's any good right now. He'll get there. Heck, imagine applying that to another position, like a coach. It doesn't matter that he's not a good coach. He'll get there. Oh, wait. I accidentally just described the reality of the Lakers coaching position right now while making a joke. Because, I mean, basically, JJ Redick can do anything and get forgiven. I mean, throughout the season, he was receiving undue praise from La Media, a.k.a. ESPN, and, the Pat Riley comparisons, which was as premature and stupid as comparing Anthony Edwards to Michael Jordan. But I somehow I didn't put together just how similar what's being done with Bronny is to what's being done with JJ. Both are essentially nepotism because, Kelvin Washington tried to make it sound like LeBron was part of the Laker family. So basically, this was a family thing, and there's nothing wrong if you think it's okay to hire family members as a part of nepotism because LeBron's part of the family. Well, then JJ is extended family of LeBron. Both of them consider Bronny James getting a standing ovation for finally making a shot. He got MVP chance and some other ridiculous shit like that. And then all the praise that JJ Redick received. And then failed worse than his predecessor. I said earlier that it's hard to tell exactly when coaching is bad or not bad, but JJ Redick provided an exception to that, an example that was an exception to that because just about everybody was dumbfounded by his lack of rotation decision, particularly considering out of shape, bad, old defenders not getting rest. But that went away really fast. The criticism of JJ went away really fast and was replaced by the crucifixion of Luka and also the excuses about no depth and no roster size when, in fact, JJ Redick chose not to use the size that was available, and the Lakers organization is responsible for the lack of depth, particularly in the case of one Bronny James. So we circle back to the main point of this episode. It's incredibly different to talk about nepotism for a player versus nepotism for a staff position. All right, that wraps it up. Let's move into bonus time and get into the nitty-gritty. If anyone wants to stick around, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we're just going to get into annoying details that shouldn't need to be explained, but I will cover them because we live in LeBron James, brain-sized world. Okay, so how about the people that will say that Thomas Bryant asked for a trade? So what? So what? So what? A lot of people ask for trades. He's not LeBron James. He's not running the show. I think I would have to consider Bryant wanting a trade or asking for a trade a blemish on his resume, but it still ultimately doesn't matter because it did still get the Lakers value. Unless you're still insisting that a second round pick isn't value. Maybe some of you are saying, well, it was multiple second round picks. Well, you're really just hurting your own argument because what are you saying? That this year's second round pick didn't matter, but next year's might? We're just going to throw this year's second round pick in the trash. Let's talk about second round success stories in the NBA draft since Bron fans naturally didn't research anything. They just heard someone say the second round doesn't matter and ran with it. There have been 35 NBA drafts since it adopted its current two-round format in 1989. So that doesn't mean there have been 35 total. There have been 35 since the two-round format. And in that time, 21 players have made an all-star game as a second-round draft pick. Let's throw some names out there. Clifford Robinson, Cedric Ceballos, Antonio Davis, Nick Van Exel, Rashard Lewis, Manu Ginobili, Michael Redd, Gilbert Arenas. Your hero Gilbert. Mehmet Okur, Carlos Boozer, Mo Williams, Kyle Korver, Paul Millsap, Mark Gasol, DeAndre Jordan, Gorgon Dragic, Isaiah Thomas, not Zeke, but the one that came later, Chris Middleton, Draymond Green, Nikola Jokic, Jalen Brunson. Those last three should probably ring in your head, eh? 10 of those guys were all-stars more than one time. 7 of those multi-year all-stars, including Arenas, Gasol, and Jokic, received an all-NBA nod at least one time. Something else stands out about that list. Just how many names of these lowly second-round picks went on to defeat the king? Oh, fanboys, you got caught again. If you think the second round isn't valuable, how come all those unvaluable second rounders defeated the greatest of all time? Because LeBron was carrying scrubs. You mean like Kyle Korver, a second rounder? As usual, it's always LeBron's second rounders that aren't good enough. Everyone else was lucky enough to get the right second rounders. Well, here's what we know to be true. Bronny James was absolutely not the right second rounder.